is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, is the founder and publisher of Unwinnable. All he got for Christmas was more dead trees, Stu Horvath.
It's true.
I mean, they've been resurrected as beautiful art books and things with stats, but nonetheless.
It's true. I purposely kept Chaosium books, like all the new releases from Chaosium I didn't buy when they were released, so that my wife could buy them for me for Christmas.
Yeah, you know, it's hard when you have a wife who's like, what do you want? And I'm all like, I don't know. I don't need anything per se. And then, like, you know, you get like some sweet ass gifts in your stocking, like awesome dice. I got a field notes notebook, which I highly recommend. If you're the type of person who always wishes you had a little bit of paper on you, but don't want to carry around a full-size notebook, Field Notes makes these awesome little pocket notebooks. They come in all different colors and designs. The one I have has like this like silver foiling on the front of it. It looks like very, very official. And it's where I'm going to keep information when I go to conventions and, like, you know, have to run con games, so I don't have to bring a whole big old system with me. But nice. I digress. Today, I kind of wanted to talk about something that I got for Christmas that I bought myself because I didn't know what to tell my wife to buy me.
Self-gifts are the best gifts.
They really are. But, you know, I went with very utilitarian stuff. I want to talk about two different things today, both by Goodman Games. Obviously, we're not sponsored by Goodman Games, but if you listen to the show before, you do know I love the DCC. So this is relatable to it in a lot of ways. We're going to talk about the reference booklet for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and then how to write adventure modules that don't suck, which is one of those, like, where have you been all my life books, which, you know, it's been out for a while, and I should have known, but nonetheless, it's a pretty sweet book. But I got to tell you, and I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but when you run an adventure, right? I mean, you've run lots of Chaosium adventures. You run Mask. You run other things. There's always that point where you kind of just don't know where to go in a book, right? And even if, like, they have, like, you know, a glossary, table of contents, all that, there's always those little things that, like, slip through the cracks. There's only so much they could fit on those pages, right? Like, for me, you know, anytime I'd be running Dungeons and Dragons, or, like, especially like Dungeon Crawl Classics, because that book is thick. It's like, essentially, you know, for those who may not be familiar, kind of like a more gonzo version of Dungeons and Dragons. It's very old school in style. There's a lot of wild magic, crits and fumbles, a lot of cool things that add a lot of nuance to playing a tabletop role PG that's sword and sorcery. And when you run it, you know, if you have a PDF, you're kind of like, okay, I got to figure out where this stuff is, because it's like 400 pages long, this book, which consists of essentially the player's handbook, the Dungeon Master Guide, and the monster manual all in one book. However, they do a great job of letting you know where everything is, but it's kind of hard to find things on the fly here and there. They have this book out that's apparently been out for a very long time called the Dungeon Crawl Classics Reference Booklet, right? And it's something that I think that any RPG that has a book that's over 100 pages should have. Because, you know, on the back cover, it tells you right off the bat it's a judge's best friend. It really wants to make the work less for the people who are on the business side of the screen. This book's been around for nearly a decade. I got it for $10.
Nice.
It's zine size, but what irks me is it's a little bigger than, you know, like an A5 style zine size. So it, like, kind of sticks up a little higher than the rest of my zines in my stack. But you know how we are about aesthetics in our shelves. However, it really does dial in the things that you would need to know, alongside the things that, like, seem somewhat esoteric in an RPG, especially even in an RPG like this, where, like, you know, there's always that thing with the players too, where there is A, B, C, and D, and you know that they're going to do A, B, C, and D in the course of the game. But then someone out of the blue, like clockwork, goes, you know what? I'm going to do V. And you're like, well, shit, like, where do I find V? Like, what is V? And so this book, this little Dungeon Crawl Classic reference booklet, actually kind of shows you how to find V, and very quickly. Has all the basic things like ability score modifiers, you know, stuff for your basic characters, halfling, thieves, wizards, etc. Basic equipment, because someone who's new to the table is like, oh, what kind of damage does this do? Or like if they find a weapon on the fly, you're like, oh, and it does this much damage. You don't got to go diving around that big beautiful book. But stuff for combat too. One of the things I love about Dungeon Crawl Classics is that they do fumbles and crits. So like it gives you your basic fumble charts, basic crit tables, things for mighty deeds, but also like crit tables for the different types of heroes, because the crit tables change by level. After a certain point, you get like a different crit table. Like they have a crit table for level 1-2 warriors, level 1-3 dwarves, clerics, halflings, and then another one for 3-4, 4-5, and then a separate crit table for level 5+ warriors and level 6 dwarves. So like the stuff goes up, and what's cool is like you get different dice to roll because of it, and you have different things that happen, and they give you a little flavor text with what happens. So even if you're a first-time person running the game, when you're talking about someone lopping their arm off, or a blow sunders a shield, and it tells you what damage it does. Like it kind of breaks it down for you what it does. Like there's even a blinding attacks chart with a really sweet piece of art of a dude getting a knife to the eye. And I appreciate this because for me who runs Dungeon Crawl Classics, it's a good way to be able to stay on top of it without having to kind of be like, oh crap, where do I find this? And then the people at your table going through their books trying to find the thing that you're looking for, So I really do appreciate something like this to help speed up combat and speed up the resource of playing the game. Like they have counterspell powers in here, crit tables for most of the major monsters too, which I think is also super important. So if you're fighting a giant and you roll a 7, it's going to be a colossal head strike. Like stuff like this is awesome. And I think in the design of games, we often overlook the thing that you kind of need most in most books. It's like the resource on how to find something quickly. So I love this, man. I spent like $10 on this thing, and it's one of my favorite RPG books and supplements that I've gotten probably in the last 5 years, because I know now, like next time I run DCC for the homies, it's going to be a much quicker, much more smooth experience.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the West March game from last night.
Sidebar, how many people did you kill?
I only killed one officially, but because I have like this special set of rules, house rules that we have, there's luck points that make me re-roll or change my roll. So I actually notched like 4 or 5 kills, but they lucked their way out of it. So only one actual dead body at the end of the day.
Love it.
But basically, there's this group of trolls that have been causing trouble in the wilderness, and they've been trying to figure out a way to take care of them. Trolls, not an easy group. They have 3 attacks. They knew that this was going to be a tough fight. I had 8 characters in the field, and really it could have went either way. But we spent a significant amount of time trying to find the rules in Old School Essentials for flaming arrows, which is, that's an easy one for, trolls are well known for being susceptible to fire damage. So they were looking to maximize their damage output as best they could, in addition to like your usual flasks of oil and stuff. There doesn't seem to be flaming arrow rules in Old School Essentials. So I'm just sort of sitting here thinking, like, could I write a booklet that is like the opposite of your DCC book? It's like just like a guidebook of there are no rules for.
Yeah.
Like, so you just have like an index and it's like flaming arrows. We don't do that. Like every game should have. I feel like most often I would say it's 50-50. Half of the time I'm looking for something that is in the book and I can't find it, and the other half of the time I'm looking for a rule that just doesn't exist. And I know the old school way is rulings, not rules. They were making fun of me last night, but I really wanted to find the thing.
Well, because it sticks in your craw and you can't find it. You're like, I should know this. And you're like, but should I know this? And like when someone throws you a curveball, and I mean, maybe that's the thing to name your book, curveballs, all the things that are missing from your standard tabletop RPG adventures. But like, I want to know, because now I want to know for next time, because if it inevitably happens once, it's going to happen twice.
Yeah. And like the corollary, like my fallback is always to like look at the other similar rules. So I just like was looking for D&D rules broadly that had flaming arrow damage, and it was too high. And I was just like, I could do 1 point of damage, but it actually doesn't matter with trolls. And I didn't want to tell them this because like it would have stacked it. But the idea is that fire doesn't do additional damage to a troll in old school essentials. It just prevents that damage from healing with their high speed regeneration. So it was sort of a moot point at the end of the day. So I was just like, nah, don't worry about flaming arrows. And they were like, but we want them. And I was like, the GM has spoken. But it's just funny how that's sort of dovetailing into our discussion today.
Right, which leads me to the second thing I got also from Goodman Games, DCC. How to write adventure modules that don't suck. Now, it's sold out right now on their website. It's $30 on their website. It's a print and PDF. Holy shit. Like, when I started writing adventures, I don't know, 4 years ago, like officially writing them for 3-2-1 action, this is the kind of thing where, anyone who's been in RPGs for any period of time, you kind of like learn through osmosis, right? Like, I feel like most people, and I know it sounds like a broad generalization, but I feel like if you've been playing and reading RPGs for a while, you could probably lay out the basic like file in Google Docs to have all your headers, the different categories, what goes where, things in that nature, right? Like, you kind of just learn through osmosis. It's kind of like, well, if you've read comic books your entire life, it's like, well, can you like draw a comic book? You draw little boxes where the things go in the little art and the drawings go, and you put the word bubbles in, like, you kind of know the vibe. However, like, there's a lot more to that, which is actually the writing cool adventures that people want to play, and also kind of understanding why you do the things in these adventures that are going to keep people hooked and coming back for more. So, there's always those Idiot's Guide to Whatever book, underwater basket weaving, or in like,
do you remember when we were playing third edition, we actually had the Idiot's Guide to Dungeons and Dragons floating around?
Yeah, it was a massive resource book, but it was actually kind of handy.
It was extremely handy. I think that book made the game far more playable for the folks who weren't, longtime D&D players.
Which is odd, because it seems like such a silly kind of thing to use as a resource. And also, like, am I buying this book because I'm an idiot, or is this meant to be helpful? Like, I feel like the marketing on it was like not great, but apparently they made a bunch of money because they made like Idiot's Guides to like everything. Yeah. And if you've seen the recent season of Chucky, you'll know they have like a book to like transfer, Idiot's Guide to like demonic whatever, so you can like transfer your spirit to another body. But I digress. New season of Chucky is pretty fun. But this is cool because this is people who are in the industry, people who've been in the industry for a long time, a lot of heavy hitters like Casey Christopherson, Brendan LaSalle. You got Ward in there. You got Jim Wampler in there, Harley Stroh, and like so many more people, all lending their knowledge to this book, which is a great read. It's a good read from cover to cover, and it really does kind of give you an idea on how to maybe perceive writing RPGs a little differently, or in a lot of ways giving you confidence because it confirms things you kind of already knew and believe were like the right way to do it. So, like, I highly, highly recommend this book. Even if you've been writing adventures for a long time, if you're new to writing adventures, it kind of is something for everybody. But I will tell you the absolute best part of this book, which is the reason why I bought it, which is our buddy Levi Combs turned me on to this. Right in the middle, the book has like a 4 or 5 page thing by Joe Goodman, right? Like Goodman Games, the guy. And it is probably in 5 pages the best possible knowledge you could ever learn, almost like a master's class on like how to do this shit. 5 pages, like the book cover to cover, worth the price of admission. But like these 5 pages, it's like the guy shows up and he's like, it's this and do this. And what if you did this? And you're like, wow, all of that makes so much sense. Like, and it's all stuff that you maybe kind of already knew deep down, but now like it's articulated for you. Yeah. And also, if you have any desire to write an adventure that's compatible with DCC, like read this book. Like, you'll know exactly what you need to do to make a great adventure that people who play DCC are going to be like, all right, that's great. That's awesome. Like, this is fun and this is why. And I can't recommend this book enough. I'm not a person who genuinely enjoys kind of how-to books. I mean, it's hard to keep my attention span in things that I deem somewhat to be textbook-ish. However, this is the complete bipolar opposite of that. It's entertaining all the way through. It is stuff that you will enjoy and immediately start to employ in your own games, even if you're not writing games. So like I said, it's sold out on their website now. You can get it PDF or whatever. But I would definitely make sure you get it in print and PDF. It's worth having both ways. It's got some cool art inside there as well. You know, you got cartoon illustrations by Chuck Weldon, and sheets are Doug Kovacs, which is, oh, he's always the best.
Always a good time.
Always a good time, man. Like, you know how we talk about, you know, our love of like Russ and other great classic artists. And I hope, and I kind of feel like he will, but like down the line, people are going to be talking about Doug Kovacs like they did, you know, for all the golden greats from, you know, the days of TSR and early Dungeons and Dragons. I think he's definitely like a steward of the next wave. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, man, how to write adventure models that don't suck. A couple things I bought myself this holiday season, which I probably could have gotten my wife to buy for me, but I just, you know, didn't think about it. Also, by the way, I got to say, I've been getting so many ads now that I actually bought the book. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, real quick sidebar, on Facebook, Instagram, like the targeted ads. I've been getting them more and more for shit I already bought. So like, I don't know what it is. It's like they're kind of doing it wrong. It's like,
Yeah.
I already show me something else. Clearly I want to spend my money on something like this, but you're showing me stuff that I already said out loud. Oh, this book is great. And then like, you know, Big Brother who was listening picked it up and was like, okay, he likes this. Let's sell it to him. It's like, no, I bought it already. But anyway, that's it for me, man. You got anything else to add?
No, I think I'm all set.
All right, well, this is me rambling for this episode. I was just so excited about the stuff that I bought. Anyway, we're back. Happy New Year, everyone. We all hope you had a great holiday season. We hope you had a great New Year. We hope 2024 is even better than 2023 was for you. And yeah, we're back. We're going to be doing a bunch of cool stuff coming up this year. We got a lot of cool conversations with a lot of very cool creators. I'm definitely going to be hitting a bunch of cons in the first half of the year. I know Stu's got some cool stuff coming up as well. So this is another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Stu, where can the people find you on the internets?
They can find me on Instagram at Vintage RPG, where I'm very excited to start posting the posts that I wrote last year for all of 2024.
And I'm sure you're like halfway through like 2025, right?
No, I don't start that until the summer.
I've
got other writing projects. You know,
I'm
you gotta
sure.
stagger.
You gotta stagger it out, right? You can find me across the internet at John McGuire RPG. Basically, I'm over on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm posting stuff mostly. But yeah, at John McGuire RPG on Instagram. Come say what's up there. If you like the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your reviews really help other listeners to find us. If you really like the show, why not become a patron? Patreon.com/vintagerepg. We got a lot of cool stuff going on there. We have a tier where you could play games with me once a month. I run an RPG for the backers. December, I ran OSC Halls of the Blood King. I haven't decided on what I'm going to do in January yet, but it's a bit of a longer month. It's still early in the month when we're recording this. We got a tier where you can play West Marches with Stu. He's got an ongoing West Marches campaign, which also covers my tier as well. We've got a behind-the-scenes look at whatever Stu's writing. I got a behind-the-scenes look at 321 Action, which is my RPG. We've got early release episodes for as little as $1 a month. You get them at some point on Friday or early Saturday, depending on when we record them. We've got a killer Discord community that we'd love for you to be a part of. Patreon.com/vintagerepg. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Every review helps other listeners to find us. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dega West. Art by Schaefer Brown. If you like the podcast, you should also consider becoming a patron at patreon.com.